Did you know that the smallest decisions you make every day can have the biggest impact on your life? It's easy to think that personal growth is all about big moments, some life-changing event or sudden realization that pushes you forward. But in reality, it's the everyday choices, the ones that seem insignificant in the moment, that shape the person you become. If you want to create lasting change in your life, you need to start paying attention to these small, everyday actions. The best part? They're completely within your control, and they add up in ways you might never expect. Stick around, because I'm about to show you how simple daily decisions can transform your future. Number 1. Small acts, big results. We all love the feeling of a quick win, don't we? That sense of accomplishment when something seemingly small turns into a meaningful success. Think back to a time when you did something simple, like finishing a book, organizing a drawer, or even making your bed. In the moment, it might have felt insignificant, yet it left you with a sense of pride, didn't it? It's like those little victories that you may not have expected to matter, but they did. The key is, those small actions aren't just tasks. They're the foundation of bigger changes that can lead to a more fulfilled and intentional life. But as we grow older, it's easy to forget just how powerful these small acts can be. Life, with its demands and responsibilities, often distracts us from those simple, foundational routines that we once thought meant nothing. We start looking for instant gratification in bigger milestones, graduations, promotions, vacations. The little steps seem so insignificant when we're rushing toward grander goals, and yet, it's these small moments that create the momentum we need to push forward. Take a moment to reflect on your life. Have you ever looked back and realized that the big changes in your life were often built on small, consistent actions? Maybe it was waking up early to work on a passion project, or making the decision to stay consistent with a workout, or even having a tough conversation that changed the course of a relationship. These are the types of small acts that lead to lasting results. They build a foundation of discipline, action, and mindfulness that you can carry forward in every aspect of your life. So next time you find yourself getting overwhelmed by bigger tasks or goals, remember, the biggest changes often start with the smallest actions. Number 2. Discipline through morning rituals. Imagine your mornings, the first few moments after you wake up. They set the tone for everything that follows, don't they? You know the feeling when you open your eyes, and for a fleeting moment, everything seems possible. It's that moment of peace before the chaos of the day begins. It's in these small, quiet moments that we can decide what kind of day we'll have. And if we're being honest with ourselves, the difference between a productive day and a sluggish one often lies in what we do right after we wake up. You've probably heard this before. The early bird catches the worm. It's an old saying, but there's truth in it. The first few minutes of your day can either set you up for success or trap you in a cycle of procrastination. But here's the twist. It's not about having a perfect morning. It's about intentionally choosing actions that prepare you for whatever comes your way. It's the act of deciding before the chaos of the day takes over that you'll commit to something small yet meaningful. A cup of coffee, a few minutes of stretching, a quick reflection on your goals, or even a quiet moment with a journal. These little rituals aren't about perfection. They're about building a sense of discipline and readiness to take on the day. Think back to when you were younger. Did you ever have a routine or ritual that made you feel grounded? Maybe it was something your parents did, or perhaps it was a habit you picked up during a particular phase in your life. Whether it was the ritual of getting ready for school or the anticipation of a fresh start every morning, those small actions were a part of who you were. And now, as adults, we can often forget the value of those routines. But the truth is, these daily practices shape us. They teach us discipline in a way that bigger goals can't. And as we age, We need these rituals even more, not just to get us through the day, but to help us build the mental and emotional muscles that sustain us through the bigger challenges life throws our way. It's about more than waking up early. It's about choosing to face the world with intention. You know that feeling when you wake up early, not because you have to, but because you want to take control of your day. That's the power of discipline. It's the act of choosing to show up for yourself, even when it's hard. And these rituals, though small, become the bedrock upon which all your larger goals are built. Number 3, the power of accountability. Let's face it, we all need a little push sometimes. How many of us have set a goal, started strong, only to let it slip by the wayside? It happens to the best of us, doesn't it? It could be a fitness goal, a personal project, or even a commitment to spend more time with loved ones. But what happens when you don't have someone else to answer to? It's easy to let things slide, to procrastinate just a little longer, or to justify that extra piece of chocolate. Accountability is something that makes all the difference, especially when life gets busy or overwhelming. The feeling of knowing someone is rooting for you can be incredibly motivating. It's like having someone in your corner, cheering you on when you feel like giving up. Think back to a time when someone held you accountable for something important. Maybe it was a coach pushing you to do one more lap, or a friend reminding you to stick to your budget. That feeling of being held accountable doesn't just make you perform better, it changes how you think about your goals. It shifts the focus from "I'll do it later" to "I'm doing it because I've made a commitment to myself and others." But there's something even deeper here. Think back to when you were younger and you had a teacher or mentor who made you believe in your potential. They didn't let you off easy. They held you to a higher standard. You didn't always understand it at the time, but their belief in you pushed you to grow. That's the kind of accountability that changes lives. And as we grow older, we may not have as many people holding us accountable, which is why it's so important to seek out those relationships. Whether it's a friend, a family member, or a coach, finding someone who cares enough to check in on your progress can be the game changer you need to stay on track. But it's not just about having someone to tell you what to do. It's about having someone who believes in your potential. It's about having someone to share your successes with, to celebrate those small wins, and to remind you why you started in the first place. They're not there to judge you. They're there to help you see the best in yourself, especially when you can't see it. In a world where we're constantly told to hustle alone, the power of accountability is a reminder that we don't have to do it all ourselves. There's strength in connection, and that strength can help propel us forward when our own willpower falters. So, when you find that person who's willing to hold you accountable, you don't just gain a supporter, you gain someone who amplifies your ability to succeed. They help you stay on course, challenge your limits, and remind you that the road to success is much less lonely when you've got someone by your side. Number 4. Meaningful connections for growth. We all have those moments when we look around and think, am I really surrounded by the right people? It's easy to get caught up in our day-to-day routines and forget just how much the people in our lives influence us. Think about the relationships that matter most to you, whether it's a close friend, a mentor, a colleague, or even a family member. These are the people who lift you up, challenge your perspectives, and encourage you to grow. But what happens when we lose sight of the power of these connections? It's easy to let relationships fade, to stick to familiar circles, or to just go through the motions. The truth is, growth happens most when we intentionally seek out relationships that push us forward, not just those that make us feel comfortable. Reflecting on the past, have you ever had someone in your life who made you see things differently? Maybe it was a friend who pushed you to step outside your comfort zone, or a colleague who helped you realize your untapped potential. These meaningful connections are not just about friendship, they're about mutual growth. It's easy to forget that the people we surround ourselves with have the power to either elevate or limit us. They can inspire us, challenge us, and provide insights that help us see the world from new angles. The energy we give and receive in these relationships creates an environment where we can thrive. Without it, we risk stagnation, stuck in routines that only reinforce our current mindset. Think back to the relationships in your life that have sparked transformation. Who has inspired you to be better, to think bigger, or to push through your fears? Chances are these people didn't just support you, they challenged you to be more than you were. And as we age, we often forget how vital it is to nurture those relationships that bring out the best in us. It's easy to fall into a cycle of surrounding ourselves with like-minded people who validate our ideas. But growth comes from being in relationships that force us to stretch beyond what's comfortable. Those relationships are the ones that matter most. So, think about the connections you have today. Are they helping you grow? Are they pushing you forward, or simply keeping you where you are? If you're not being challenged, then it might be time to seek out new connections that will help you stretch your limits. Surround yourself with people who are doing what you want to do, people who inspire you to be your best. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. It's about forming deep, meaningful connections that encourage growth, challenge complacency, and ultimately help you become the person you're meant to be. Number 5. Living with purpose. Have you ever felt like you were just going through the motions? Wake up, work, eat, sleep, and repeat. It's easy to get caught in this cycle, especially when the demands of life start to pile up. But what if I told you that this repetitive routine might be the very thing keeping you from living a life of purpose? We all have dreams, goals, and aspirations, but how many of us are truly living intentionally? Living with purpose doesn't mean having everything figured out, but it does mean being intentional about the choices we make each day. Think about a time when you felt truly alive, like you were on the right path. Maybe it was during a project that sparked your passion, a trip that inspired you, or a time when you helped someone in need. In these moments, you probably felt connected to something bigger than yourself, like your life had meaning. These are the moments we crave, but they don't happen by accident. Living with purpose requires an active decision to engage with our lives on a deeper level, to move beyond mere survival and into intentional living. It's easy to get nostalgic and think back to a time when life felt simpler. Maybe when you were younger, you had big dreams and everything seemed possible. But as time goes by, we often let those dreams slip away. Life becomes about survival, about doing what we have to do instead of what we want to do. But it doesn't have to be that way. Purpose doesn't have to be something grand or world-changing. It's about finding the meaning in the everyday moments, in the small choices, in the things that give you joy and satisfaction. Living with purpose means being conscious of your actions and ensuring they align with your values, your dreams, and your aspirations. As you grow older, you might find yourself questioning, am I doing what matters? It's a tough question, but it's one worth asking. It's easy to get distracted by the noise of the world, the expectations, the pressures, the distractions. But at the end of the day, it's not about meeting society's standards or chasing someone else's definition of success. It's about understanding what you want your life to mean. And that's a question only you can answer. Living with purpose means deciding every day to make choices that align with your core values, even when it's difficult. It's about staying true to what you believe in, not just what others expect of you. Number 6. Reflection for intentional living. Take a moment and think about the last time you really reflected on your life. Not just a casual glance at where you are, but deep, meaningful reflection. Have you ever wondered how much more intentional your life could be if you took the time to truly reflect on it? Reflection is often seen as something we do when we feel lost or confused. But in truth, reflection is an essential tool for intentional living. Without it, we risk drifting through life, reacting to circumstances instead of actively shaping them. When was the last time you took an honest look at where you are versus where you want to be? It's so easy to get caught up in the grind of daily tasks, to do one thing after another without taking a step back to truly evaluate if you're headed in the right direction. Maybe you're achieving success in some areas, but in others you feel stuck or unfulfilled. Reflection isn't just about pointing out mistakes. It's about understanding who you are, what you value, and what you want to change. It's about recognizing patterns, understanding your motivations, and becoming aware of your strengths and weaknesses. Think back to when you were younger. Perhaps there were moments when you were forced to stop and think about your choices, whether it was a life-changing decision or a series of events that made you pause and evaluate your path. As we grow older, it's easy to forget how crucial these moments of reflection are. We get so caught up in the day-to-day that we forget to check in with ourselves. But without reflection, we risk living on autopilot, simply reacting to life rather than actively shaping it. Reflection is the compass that guides us, ensuring that our actions align with our deeper goals. When you take the time to reflect, it forces you to get honest with yourself. It encourages you to ask tough questions. What am I doing that's moving me forward? What am I doing that's holding me back? Reflection isn't just about looking back, it's about shaping your future. The more you reflect, the more you realize that every action, no matter how small, contributes to your larger journey. It's these reflections that help you become more intentional, that help you make better decisions, and ultimately help you live a life that is aligned with your truest self. Reflection doesn't just happen in moments of crisis. It's a practice that we can engage in every day to ensure that we are living with purpose and direction. Number 7. Negative visualization for resilience. Have you ever found yourself in a moment of hardship and thought, "I wasn't prepared for this"? It's easy to assume that we can predict how life will unfold, that we'll be ready for whatever comes our way. But life doesn't give us many guarantees. We can't foresee every challenge, every setback, or every disappointment. What if I told you that one of the most powerful tools you can use to build resilience is imagining the worst-case scenario? It may sound counterintuitive. Why would anyone want to focus on negative outcomes? But in the philosophy of pragmatism, negative visualization is a technique that strengthens us, enabling us to handle adversity with greater composure and foresight. When you think of the worst-case scenario, it doesn't mean dwelling on your fears. It's about mentally preparing for the possibility of failure or loss, so that when things don't go as planned, you are more equipped to handle them. Imagine how differently you'd react to challenges if you had already thought through the worst of it. It's not about inviting negativity into your life. Rather, it's about reducing the shock of life's inevitable difficulties by confronting them mentally ahead of time. For example, picture a major setback in your career. Maybe a job you were hoping for slips away. What would your next move be? By mentally rehearsing this worst-case scenario, you allow yourself to not only be prepared, but to realize that you have more resilience than you initially thought. You may even surprise yourself with your ability to bounce back. It's easy to look back and see where you might have faltered in the past. Maybe there was a time when a big setback felt like it was the end of the world. It's normal to feel unprepared when life catches you off guard, but with negative visualization, you can transform that feeling of vulnerability into strength. Imagine preparing for future difficulties as if you were training for a battle. Mentally, emotionally, and even physically. The more you prepare for potential loss or hardship, the less power these challenges hold over you when they arise. It's not about dwelling on the negative, it's about transforming fear into resilience. As you think about the challenges in your life today, consider what could happen if you shifted your perspective. Instead of being shocked by setbacks, what if you embraced them as opportunities to learn? Negative visualization isn't a practice of pessimism, it's a practice of clarity and preparedness. When you learn to accept that life doesn't always go according to plan, you find yourself empowered to handle anything that comes your way. The next time life throws you an unexpected curveball, you might be surprised at how quickly you adapt and find your footing. Number 8. Gratitude as strength. When was the last time you took a moment to truly appreciate something in your life? Maybe it was a quiet evening at home, a phone call from an old friend, or just the simple pleasure of a warm cup of coffee in the morning. It's easy to get caught up in the demands of our busy lives and overlook the small blessings that surround us every day. But when we shift our focus to gratitude, something incredible happens. Gratitude becomes a wellspring of strength, helping us navigate life's challenges with resilience and optimism. Think about a time in your life when you felt completely overwhelmed. Maybe everything was falling apart and nothing seemed to be going right. In those moments, it's easy to fixate on the negatives, the things that aren't working, the things you wish were different. But then, what if you shifted your focus just slightly? What if you turned your attention to the things that are going well? Gratitude isn't about ignoring the difficulties. It's about finding the strength to move forward despite them. In times of struggle, gratitude can be the anchor that keeps you grounded, reminding you that there is always something to appreciate, even in the darkest of moments. Nostalgia has a funny way of showing us how much we've taken for granted. Think back to moments in your past when you may have overlooked the good things because you were too focused on what you didn't have. Maybe you spent years wishing for more, never taking time to appreciate the people and experiences right in front of you. Now, as time passes, those moments feel more precious, don't they? What if you had spent more time appreciating the things you have rather than constantly striving for more? Gratitude isn't just about feeling thankful, it's about recognizing that the small things in life have incredible value. The more you practice gratitude, the more you realize just how much power it holds. When we express gratitude for the people, the experiences, and the simple joys in our lives, we start to shift our mindset from scarcity to abundance. Gratitude teaches us that what we have is enough, and that in itself is a form of strength. It helps us approach each day with a sense of appreciation, which in turn boosts our mental and emotional well-being. This isn't a fleeting feeling. It's a strength that grows the more we practice it. It's easy to overlook the power of gratitude in a world that constantly tells us to strive for more, but it's this very practice that can help us become more resilient and more centered in the face of life's challenges. Number 9. Community and self-improvement. How many times have you set a personal goal, whether it was to get healthier, learn a new skill, or achieve a career milestone, and felt completely alone in the process? It's easy to believe that self-improvement is a solitary endeavor, but the truth is, we thrive when we have a community to support us. Whether it's a group of friends, a network of colleagues, or an online support group, having people who share your goals and encourage your growth can make all the difference in the world. No one achieves greatness in isolation. Community is an essential part of the journey toward becoming the best version of ourselves. Think back to a time when you faced a difficult challenge and someone was there to support you. Maybe it was a mentor who helped guide you through a tough decision, or a friend who encouraged you to keep going when you felt like giving up. These moments of support often become the turning points in our lives. We all need someone to lean on, someone who understands what we're going through and can offer both advice and encouragement. Community doesn't just provide moral support. It holds us accountable, motivates us, and pushes us to go further than we ever could on our own. As you reflect on the role of community in your own self-improvement journey, think about the times when you felt connected to a group of like-minded individuals, whether it was an online forum where you shared tips and experiences, or a group of people who were working towards similar goals. These connections help us stay focused and motivated. Self-improvement is a process, and it's much easier to stay committed to that process when we know we're not alone. It's easy to isolate ourselves and believe that we need to do everything on our own, but true growth happens when we engage with others, share our experiences, and learn from each other. Community can take many forms, but at its core, it's about shared experiences, mutual encouragement, and collective growth. Whether you're working on a personal goal or trying to make a positive change in your life, community is the glue that holds us together and keeps us moving forward. The next time you're working towards something important, remember that you don't have to do it alone. Reach out to others who share your values and goals, and watch how the power of community can propel you toward your dreams. Number 10. Everyday choices for growth. Have you ever found yourself at a crossroads, wondering if today is the day you finally take that leap toward growth? It's tempting to think of personal development as something grand, something that only happens in big, dramatic moments. But in reality, growth isn't just about the big, defining moments. It's about the countless small decisions we make every single day. It's the little choices, the ones that might seem insignificant in the moment, that can accumulate into life-changing transformations. Every single day presents us with opportunities to grow, and each choice we make contributes to the person we are becoming. At first, these choices might seem trivial. Maybe it's the decision to wake up a little earlier to read a book, or to take a walk instead of watching another episode of your favorite show. Maybe it's choosing to eat a little healthier, or taking 5 minutes out of your day to reflect on your goals. In the hustle and bustle of daily life, it's easy to overlook these seemingly small moments, but over time, these little actions compound and lead to significant growth. Think about it. If you made just one better choice every day, no matter how small, where could you be a year from now? The impact would be incredible. Nostalgia often brings us back to moments where we made certain choices that seemed insignificant at the time, but ended up shaping our lives in ways we didn't expect. Maybe you remember a time when you chose to learn something new, or when you decided to stick with a difficult habit for longer than you thought you could. You may have even doubted yourself back then, wondering if your effort would be worth it. Now, looking back, you can see how those decisions shaped your growth. Each little choice added up, making you stronger, wiser, and more resilient. It's the accumulation of these small actions that leads to real, lasting change. It's not always easy to make the right choice, especially when life gets overwhelming. There are days when you feel too tired, too busy, or too uncertain to make a decision that will contribute to your growth. On those days, it's tempting to let go of intentional choices and just go with the flow. But here's the beauty of everyday choices. Even on the hardest days, small steps forward still count. Even if you don't have the energy to do everything, choosing one positive action can make all the difference. Maybe you didn't have time for a full workout, but you walked around the block. Maybe you didn't finish that book you've been meaning to read, but you read a chapter. These small decisions add up to something bigger than the sum of their parts. When you consistently make choices that align with your goals, you start to see progress in ways you might not have expected. Now, think about the things that truly matter to you. Whether it's your health, career, relationships, or personal development, the choices you make today will determine your future. The beauty of everyday choices is that they are within your control, and they give you the opportunity to steer your life in the direction you want to go. As you make intentional decisions day by day, you begin to build the foundation for long-term success. When you make growth a part of your daily routine, it becomes second nature. Each choice, no matter how small, adds to your personal evolution. The next time you find yourself faced with a decision, no matter how seemingly insignificant, take a moment to recognize its potential. In the grand scheme of things, it might feel small, but these are the moments that shape who you are becoming. The everyday choices you make are the building blocks of your future growth. So, ask yourself, what choices will you make today that will move you closer to the person you want to be tomorrow? If you've made it this far, drop a thumbs up. This shows that you're part of the 0.01% who actually follow through and finish what they start. That level of commitment is exactly what it takes to transform your life and achieve your goals. Every small decision, every moment of discipline, and every act of intentional living adds up. You're already on the right path by sticking with it, and now it's time to keep building on that momentum. If you're serious about making real change and committing to a life of growth, make sure to subscribe to our channel. By doing so, you'll continue to receive the practical insights and tips to help you grow and stay focused on your goals. Your journey towards a more purposeful life is just beginning. Let's take this next step together.